A few days had passed since the rescue. The resurrected members of the party were resting, reasonable precaution given that they'd technically been dead, and so far no obvious side effects had materialized. Progress. The bigger problem, Anna. De-brainwashing Anna had taken half a month of painstaking work, but once it finally started to unravel, it came apart quickly. No more status conditions on appraisal. She was completely herself again. Completely herself, which meant completely crushed with guilt. "I've wronged you so horribly, Master Schlein." She still had all her memories of what she'd done under Hugo's control. Schlein had tried repeatedly to reassure her that it wasn't her fault, that it was Hugo's doing, that she had nothing to feel guilty about. This made her feel worse. Every time he said it, she spiraled further, a vicious cycle with no exit. All he could do was wait. Then Oka-sensei woke up. Finally, after what felt like an unreasonable amount of sleeping. And the situation changed. Because she arrived bearing news, Hugo was dispatching an army to the forest where the elves lived. War council, Duke's mansion, conference room, everyone who wasn't currently incapacitated crammed around a table. The Duke summarized the situation in the flat tone of a man delivering bad news that has run out of surprise value. Queen, running the kingdom. Silas officially bedridden with illness, which was technically accurate if you counted shattered mind from extreme brainwashing as an illness. Sue betrothed to Hugo, giving the Empire a political foothold in the kingdom. Scattered nobles who hadn't been brainwashed could potentially be gathered as allies, but that would take time. But that still doesn't address the root of the problem, Leston said, and looked at Schlein. Hugo controlled the church. Hugo wanted to conquer the world. Hugo was currently fighting a war against the demons that Julius had died in, and if Hugo threw human civilization into chaos in the middle of that, Julius's death would mean nothing. Shun, as the true hero, will you step forward to defeat Prince Hugo, enemy of our kingdom and all humanity? Of course. What else was he going to say? The team assembled afterward: Schlein, Katya, Hyrintz, Oka-sensei, Anna, and Faye. Small and elite, because most of the kingdom's military was either brainwashed or of unknown loyalty. Both Katya and Anna had required an argument to get onto the roster. Katya and her father had fought for an entire day. The Duke refused to send his daughter into danger. Katya refused to stay. It escalated until Katya told her parents she was going whether or not they agreed, and possibly whether or not they tried to physically stop her. Her father's expression at that point was that of a man who loves his daughter and has accepted defeat. "My condolences, Duke and Duchess. Your daughter has grown into a terrible delinquent who won't listen to her parents." Anna wanted to come to atone. Schlein had reservations. She was strong, but not on the same tier as the rest of the group. More significantly, she was a half-elf. Elves were deeply prejudiced against half-bloods. She'd been born in the elf village and cast out. Taking her back there seemed like a specific category of bad idea. On the other hand, leaving her alone in this guilt spiral was also a specific category of bad idea. He decided that watching over her was preferable to worrying from a distance. Getting to the elf village meant crossing continents. Teleport points, inaccessible, because they were wanted fugitives, and most points were in royal castles. The ocean, nominally an option, except for the enormous water dragon that sank every ship attempting to cross it. Faye could fly, but not that far across open water. Great Elroe Labyrinth it was. Faye had already assured them her body would fit through the passages. "Once we reach the other continent, the elves have a hidden teleport point. We should arrive before Hugo's army attacks," Oka-sensei said. Before they could leave, she added, "There's something I must tell all of you. This world was created as part of a game among gods." "How do you do, little sister? What do you want?" "I just came to see how you're doing, of course." "Well, you've seen me then. Please leave." "Oh, don't be so cold. Couldn't we talk a little?" "I have nothing to say to you." "Is that so? And here I thought you would need comfort, sobbing away about pretending to be brainwashed so you could betray your beloved older brother." "Humph. That's none of your concern. You're just a god's hunting dog." "Oh, aren't you in the same boat now? That's why you betrayed your brother, I believe." "That's not true. I haven't betrayed him." "But you are obeying our master. That makes you an enemy of the human race, my dear." Ah, there it is. That face. That's what I wanted to see. You're horrible. I'll take that as a compliment, thank you. The Sane checked her status one last time before the battle. Magic stats in 6 digits, resistance ability over 11,000. This was what Height of Occultism did to you if you gave it enough time and enemies to practice on. The name Sane had briefly struck her as suspiciously similar to a brand of dish soap, but she'd grown past making that observation out loud. The primary concern: could she actually break through an Earth Dragon's magic defense? Dragons had scales that drastically reduced incoming magic power. Even with stats like hers, it wasn't guaranteed. She'd been smacking herself with Earth magic to raise her Earth resistance, which felt, as a strategy, roughly equivalent to trying to fight a wildfire with a water pistol, but it was better than nothing. Her actual trump card was Sloth. Sloth, N% of the power to reach godhood, drastically multiplies the amount of decrease in surrounding system numerical values, excluding the users. The 7th broken skill, Pride, was support, Perseverance was defense, Wisdom was support with Height of Occultism as a combat bonus. But Sloth was the first one that was a proper attack skill, except it didn't attack the way you'd expect. It didn't reduce HP directly. It made every stat decrease faster for everyone in range except her, including SP. And unlike HP and MP, SP has no automatic recovery. She'd also picked up Expel, finally, a skill she'd wanted since almost the beginning. It emerged from Throw once she maxed that out. The minor detail: it uses MP and moves at a lower speed than just throwing something the normal way. Honestly, using plain Throw would probably have been more effective, but it's the thought that counts. She waited in the pit, all her senses open, danger perception activated. Every hair on her body bristled. She remembered this feeling. She would always remember this feeling. The first real terror she'd experienced after being reborn. The moment she became genuinely aware of death as something that could happen to her specifically. She turned around slowly. Earth Dragon Araba. Crazy. Those stats are seriously crazy. Everything Kagna and Gera had, and more. Higher defense than Kagna, higher speed than Gera. And dark magic, her primary attack type, already at level 7, with dark resistance at level 4. A perfect all-rounder with no exploitable weakness. She felt the fear wash through her, familiar and real, and underneath it, happiness. I've grown strong enough to fight an opponent I could only hide away from in terror before. Back then, Araba had noticed her. She was sure of it now, with its presence perception maxed and its range of detection, and overlooked her because she was too insignificant to bother with. She was going to make it regret that. Thank you. You taught me the fear of death. That's why I am the way I am now. And now, die. She opened with a black spear. Araba avoided it with ease. Araba countered with a breath attack. She avoided it with ease. Both understood the other would dodge. It felt almost like a greeting, two opponents acknowledging each other before the real thing starts. Then the real thing started. Dimensional maneuvering, straight up, into the air of the pit. Off the ground, away from Araba's earth magic. This was the plan: deny Araba the home field advantage and fight it on neutral ground. Araba understood immediately and followed, kicking off into the air. She fired black bullets, many, at machine gun frequency, with no regard for MP consumption. Araba moved through them like an expert bullet hell player. Those movements weren't just stats, they were technique. Years of battle honed into pure instinctual precision. My evasion skills are just brute force. Araba's are actual ability. Divine scales, upgraded imperial scales, reduced the power of her magic substantially even on the rare hit. With her 6-digit magic attack stat, she should still deal some damage. The problem was getting the hits to land. The key: she had a second, invisible form of attack that didn't require hitting anything. She just needed Araba to take the fight seriously enough to keep burning through SP. Araba prepared a breath attack. Foresight told her a split second in advance. The same breath attack that had once destroyed her home in one shot. She activated short-range teleport, destination, directly on top of Araba's head. As Araba's mouth continued releasing the breath, she fired a black bullet straight down into it. The mouth snapped shut. The breath attack, with nowhere to go, exploded inside. Combined with black bullet, that's some decent damage. Short-range teleport takes several seconds to set up, so it's a tool for prepared ambushes rather than combat spam. Still, Good opening. Araba's tail reacted before the dragon's expression did, whipping out like a striking snake. She barely dodged it. Then a front paw came. She jumped back, fired a black spear as a feint. Araba's HP, which had actually decreased slightly, began recovering at a rapid rate. I knew it. Whittling down HP is basically impossible. Several black spheres appeared, floating around Araba. Dark bullets. It had the same spell. Time to fight darkness with darkness. She activated dark bullets simultaneously, and both sets of projectiles cancelled each other out in mid-air. Araba's paw knocked her follow-up counterattack aside. Its tail whipped at her from another angle. She gave up on attacking and focused entirely on staying alive, retreating higher. Close combat, not ideal. Araba's body was one large weapon. Fangs, claws, tail, body slam if it felt like it. Long range, better. Except, Araba's mouth opened without any charge time. No motion breath. I didn't know you had that. She invoked Repellent Evil Eye at maximum strength, generating a repellent barrier around herself, and dodged hard to the side. The breath grazed her. Repellent Evil Eye's pseudo-physical barrier couldn't fend off breath attacks. They were pure energy rather than physical matter. And with no charge up, there was almost no warning. Her Evil Eye's overall, not working. Jinx's Evil Eye couldn't detectably reduce Araba's stats. Repellent Evil Eye's gravity wasn't slowing it. Inert Evil Eye's paralysis chance on this opponent was essentially 0. She had Annihilating Evil Eye, acquired automatically on evolving to Aid Sane, death attribute, rot damage, but using it sacrificed the eye and cost her meaningful HP. Absolute last resort. She retreated upward, firing magic. Araba chased. A spiderweb, stretched across the vertical shaft in advance, caught Araba's attention and made the dragon slow, suspicious of the trap. She'd put a hole in it exactly wide enough for herself. She fired magic carefully between the threads. Araba dodged, matched her through the web barrier, fired breath attacks that were slowly creating holes in the thread. She rained a waterfall of poison synthesized at maximum production, deadly and paralytic both. Araba dismissed it with a single blast of breath. Seriously? All of that just gone? No high hopes, but still. She formed a net from utility thread, compressed it into a ball with expel, then used thread control to spread it back open as it flew toward Araba. Araba dodged with exaggerated caution. Good. Being that wary of her thread was still a win. It meant Araba was spending time on caution rather than offense. She scattered thread throughout the air, all connected back to a single line she held. Araba burned or dodged individual strands, eventually creating a gap large enough to pass through. Come on in. The moment Araba ascended through the hole, she reeled in the thread all at once and fired black bullets from the front. Thread behind, bullets in front. The classic dilemma: dodge the bullets and get caught. Take the bullets and take damage. Araba chose neither. It used breath to neutralize the bullets, then charged through the aftermath. She barely avoided a fang that caught her slightly, draining satiation stock. Still underestimating it. The stalemate continued. Her thread worked, if it landed, which Araba wouldn't let happen. Araba's max power breath would work, if it could charge, which took too long and left too big an opening. Both of them dancing around their own winning moves while the ceiling got closer. Sharpen everything. Don't miss anything. She focused every sense through Thought Acceleration's slow-motion world, maximizing every piece of information foresight was feeding her. Proficiency reached. Skill Thought Acceleration 9, Thought Acceleration LV10. Condition satisfied, evolved into Thought Hyper-Acceleration LV1. Proficiency reached. Skill Foresight 9 LSI 10. Condition satisfied, evolved into Future Sight LV1. The already slow world got slower. The sporadic frames that Foresight had been showing her became a continuous feed. She could see Araba's current move. She could see the move after that. The combo attack Araba had prepared as a potential killing blow was suddenly readable in its entirety, one step at a time. She dodged it, all of it, effortlessly. Araba's HP began to tick down, not from any single hit, from the cumulative pressure of her suddenly perfect counterattack rate. Sensing the shift, Araba started getting desperate. Desperate emotions create mental gaps. I'm not lenient enough to let that slide. Heretic magic. Phantom pain. Araba reacted with visible surprise. Pain super mitigation meant the dragon probably hadn't felt anything like this in a very long time. And heretic magic's illusory pain can't be relieved by any pain mitigation skill. She knew this firsthand from when detection had done it to her. You can resist it mentally if you're strong enough, but you need a moment to do that. A moment was all she needed. Thread, everywhere, as fast as she could deploy it. Layer after layer wrapped around Araba's body. She stuck the thread to the wall and suspended the dragon in midair. I've done it! Now she just had to fire magic until Araba's skill points decreased. All of them. The 41,100 it had stockpiled from what was probably a very long life, down to 100. And the newly acquired skills made her breath catch. Fire Magic LV10, Flame Magic LV10, Inferno Magic LV1, Flame Enhancement LV1, Flame Resistance LV1, Black Resistance LV1, Space Perception, then gained during the fight itself, Concentration LV1, Prediction LV1, Parallel Thinking LV1, Arithmetic Processing LV1, Heresy Resistance LV1, Fire Magic at max, evolved to Flame Magic, evolved further to Inferno Magic. Flame Enhancement on top. An Earth Dragon had just become more dangerous with fire than most fire dragons. Black Resistance against her primary weapon. Space Perception to track her teleportation. After spending its whole life piling up these points, it used all of them on me. The thread burned away. Inferno Magic, Scorched Earth, a wide-range spell that treated Araba's own body as the ground, flames surging across it. Even flame resistance couldn't reduce the self-damage to 0. Araba, literally on fire, HP slowly declining. And then Araba's HP rapid recovery skill leveled up, mid-battle. From the intensity of the fight itself. Ugh, growing in the middle of a battle like this? Who do you think you are, the protagonist? Only protagonists are supposed to have that kind of moment. This was completely unfair, and she refused to accept it. Araba put one foot on the wall. The wall ignited. Why would you cause a natural disaster so casually? Flames spread across the walls of the pit at frightening speed. Araba ran along the burning surface, building earthen bridges from wall to wall, each one blazing. One, then another, closing off her escape routes. The structure looked, of all things, like a giant spider web, made of fire. An enemy had taken her own strategy and weaponized it against her. She retreated higher. Burning earth filled the air. The heat was starting to deplete her HP just from proximity. A flame caught her body, and she immediately activated medicine synthesis, producing medicinal water to douse herself. She'd upgraded to this from the old days of dousing herself in her own poison and hoping for the best. The medicine also recovered some HP. Small victories. Araba refused to give her time for another synthesis. Every opening she thought she had, Araba closed with another attack. She was descending now, dodging between the bridges, fire scorching her body. Her HP was dropping faster than she could compensate. Satiation stock ran out. Araba kept going. HP reached 0. Perseverance. The skill that had once felt like an emergency failsafe, now felt like the only thing standing between her and actual death. With HP at 0, it converted MP into effective HP. HP rapid recovery, plus the MP recovery from Height of Occultism, reduced the rate she was losing ground. But she was still losing it. Oh crap! Oh crap! Oh crap! Oh crap! And then Araba's movements slowed. Not from any attack. Not from any spell she'd cast in the last few seconds. From something that had been quietly building since the very beginning of this fight. The poison known as Sloth. She'd activated it the moment the battle started, and never turned it off. Every living thing in range except her. All stat decreases multiplied drastically. HP and MP have automatic recovery, so the effect was minimal there. But SP has no automatic recovery. And Araba had been using dimensional maneuvering constantly. That drains SP, and mental divinity continuously, which also drains SP. With Sloth accelerating the drain on top of that, the dragon's SP had been bleeding away the entire fight. The more desperately Araba fought, the faster it burned through the strength it didn't know it was running out of. Without appraisal, there was no way to notice until it was too late. She destroyed the burning bridges with black bullets, doused herself one more time. Araba could no longer move. No SP remaining, no strength to act. Its HP was still substantial. That was fine. I knew from the beginning that reducing HP to 0 was impossible, so I focused on SP instead. She looked down at Araba, motionless on one of the remaining bridges below. Araba raised its head, their eyes met. The eyes were clear, calm. There was no fear in them, no desperation, no rage. What's with those eyes? As she watched, Araba's status began to change. The text displaying its skills turned grey, one after another. Divine scales, all the resistance skills, every defensive measure she'd spent the entire battle fighting against. Araba was turning them off. I'm not going to resist, is that what you're saying? Araba laid itself down on its side, still watching her. The flames around it, with no resistance skills protecting it now, were burning it down rapidly. She felt rage at this, genuine, inexplicable rage. Beg for your life. Struggle. Do something. How can you just throw it away so easily? How can you face your own end with such dignity? She didn't have an answer, so she activated all 4 evil eyes simultaneously: Jinx, inert, repellent, and annihilating. Araba's body crumbled into dust without the slightest hint of resistance. The divine voice announced her leveling up. It rang hollow. She'd won the fight she'd been preparing for since she first saw this creature destroy the giant snake. She'd overcome the thing that had given her the first real awareness of her own mortality. It left a terrible aftertaste. Bolto, have you ever encountered a dragon? Bolto, trying to keep this conversation as brief as possible, as one always tried to do with the demon lord, tilted his head at the sudden question. I have not. A worm, yes, but not a dragon. Right, of course. The demon lord was slouched in her chair with her feet on the table, the picture of studied nonchalance. White sat quietly in one corner of the room, unlike the demon lord, perfectly well behaved, though her stillness somehow made her seem more unsettling rather than less. Earth dragons are a pretty proud bunch, the demon lord said, apparently musing aloud. Those guys definitely have the blood of samurai in their veins. Bolto had no idea what a samurai was. He had no intention of asking. Asking questions extended conversations with the demon lord, and extending conversations with the demon lord was how you shortened your expected lifespan. I've seen lots of different dragons, but thinking back, earth dragons were probably the most decent ones. Lots of different dragons. Bolto thought about this. The terrifying part was that it was probably true. Whoops, sorry. Listen to me rambling on. So, can I count on you to prepare for the attack on the elf village? As you wish, O demon lord. Blue sky. For the first time since being reborn as a spider, she was outside. The sun hit her body. The air was different here, open, instead of labyrinth damp. After everything that had happened in this dungeon, after every near-death and actual death and terrifying monster and overwhelming opponent, she was standing on the outside of the Great Elroe Labyrinth, looking out at a world she hadn't seen since the beginning. She'd followed the 4 soldiers who'd fled her encounter with the summoners group. Marked with wisdom, easy to track, they'd led her directly to the exit, which was a more reliable navigation method than she'd expected. Farewell, not-so-beloved birthplace. She'd probably be back at some point. Teleport made anything a temporary goodbye. But for now, brand new gourmet experiences are calling to me. Wait for me. Delicious mysteries! The next problem was obvious. Getting into a human settlement. She was an Eid Sane. Her appearance was, charitably, not suited for blending in. Her skull-patterned back and scythe-tipped front legs were unlikely to read as harmless local to anyone she approached. How exactly was she going to solve this? She'd figure it out. She'd figured out everything else. Probably.